Travelogue, number 3.
Coming soon to own on video and DVD.
MJ pisses at Neuschwanstein Castle. All this and more coming soon.
This Disney DVD is enhanced with Disney's Fast Play. Your movie and a selection of bonus features will begin automatically. To bypass Fast Play, select the main menu button at any time. Fast Play will begin in a moment.
Hello! Come with me as I go to Neuschwanstein Castle, otherwise known as the Disney Castle. It was created in the 19th century and was commissioned by King Ludwig II of Bavaria, he also going by the title of the Fairytale King, or the Mad King. He commissioned this castle because he had a crush on the composer Richard Wagner. It soon became one of the most popular castles in Germany because of Walt Disney Studios using it as inspiration for the Sleeping Beauty castle, both in the movie and at Disney World. It took me a while to find the platform, but I did end up catching my train to Buchaloha, but I did end up getting confused and stranded in a small German village titled Kaffering until the train ride for Essen came. And what a train ride it was, admiring the Alps and the picturesque villages in the distance.
Oh, I'm headed to the mountains. I'll be back in a week or 2. Don't you try to reach me, 'cause I won't pick up for you. I've got some things I need to do. Oh, I'm headed to the mountain where the air is sweet and new. Don't you try to reach me, 'cause I don't want to talk to you. I've got some thinking to do. I'm trying to let go. I think it could help being alone. And I'm trying not to let you make me cry. I've spilled too many tears, and I think I deserve to be alone. And don't you try to reach me while I pick myself up and go. I've got to do this on my own.
I arrived in Fusen at around 11ish, and after killing 30 minutes in a train stop and in line, I took an overcrowded bus to Neuschwanstein. The bus ride didn't take much time, thankfully, and the views were still beautiful. Soon enough, I arrived there, and after admiring the castle from a distance, I decided to get something to eat. Having only eaten a pastry earlier, I was starving. So, I ate at the hotel and restaurant Alpenstruben, where I ordered entirely in German, which sounds very impressive until you realize I only said Gulasch und Wasser bitte, Die Rechnung bitte, and Danke schön, and had probably the best meal of my life. It was this hearty, flavorful, and tender goulash with this fresh and warm homemade bread. It was the perfect meal to climb the side of a mountain with.
One evening as the sun went down and the jungle fire was burning, down the track came a hobo hiking, and he said, "Boys, I'm not turning I'm headed for a land that's far away, beside the crystal fountain. So come with me, we'll go and see the big rock candy mountains. In the big rock candy mountains, there's a land that's fair and bright, where the handouts grow on bushes, and you sleep out every night. Where the boxcars all are empty, and the sun shines every day. On the birds and the bees and the cigarette trees, the lemonade springs where the bluebirds...
I decided not to go inside the castle, because of how expensive it is and because you need to book tickets months in advance. So I sat in front of the castle, admiring it for ages, and continued on past beer gardens and views of Schwangal, until I made my way to Marenbrook, a very famous and very crowded bridge that had a better view of the castle.
Where the rain don't fall, the wind don't blow, in the big rock candy mountains. In the big rock candy mountains, you never change your socks, and the little streams of alcohol come a-trickling down the rocks. The brakemen have to tip their hats, and the railroad bulls are blind. There's a lake of stew and a whiskey too. You can paddle all around them in a big canoe in the big rock candy mountain.
Then, on the quest for the best view of Neuschwanstein, and to get away from the crowds, I continued to hike up the mountain and shared this view spot on top of a rock with a family with 2 kids, among other people. But I continued to hike on, determined to make my way on top of the mountain. On the path, I found this. And continued on. Almost there. And there I was, on top of the mountain. Then I walked back, trying to gently push my way through the bridge as everyone took their Instagram pictures, MGM pictures with a Z, follow me, or their B-roll for their vlog. Then I set my camera down for a bit with some glühwein and a pretzel and just admired the castle. After reaching Fusen, I used the Porta-Johns and was completely and utterly in shock whenever I found out they had an all-in-one hand-washing system, complete with an air dryer. I know, this is so stupid, but this is what you came for, isn't it? I woke up the next day and ate at a breakfast spot named the California Bean with a fantastic breakfast and amazing fresh orange juice. I took the rest of my bread for the journey to Munich's Old Town. On the way, spotted some cool buildings and found a 16th century statue of St. Matthew slaying a dragon from my view inside a TK Maxx, a department store. I then continued to the Old Town where I found some water fountains at the entrance and looked through some cool vintage shops and the Munich Lego store.
Wahnsinn, ich liebe diesen Song.
Hier ist alles super. Hier ist alles cool, denn du bist nicht allein. Hier ist alles super. Hier kann dein Traum.
Outside, I found a catfish statue and rubbed one of the whiskers for good luck. Then I walked around the Old Town Square trying to kill 30 minutes before the Rathaus Glockenspiel clock tower performance. Meanwhile, I found a man who played the accordion and went to get a mezzomix, which tasted a lot like the Spitze that I had fallen in love with earlier. I stopped at the Victualian Mart and got a fruit juice in a bee bag. Then I went back to the English Gardens.
Wenn ich in meinen
Kopf verreiß, misch dich nicht ein, lass mich alleine sein. So viel uns erdrückt, jeder hält was zurück, gibt nur ein wenig, nur ein kleines Stück und glaubt, es genügt, denn keiner will wirklich alles, jeder nur genug, genug um zu verkraften und grad so den Tag zu schaffen. Und jeder weiß nur genauso viel, wie jeder traut, sich zuzutrauen. Ja, jeder weiß nur genauso viel, wie man glaubt zu verkraften. Drum auf all die schönen, unbekannten Träume, Maler, Musikanten, ich lade euch jetzt ein zu tanzen, denn alles ist Musik. Und auch die Rotweinmund gewandten Sammler süßer Halbgedanken, kommt schon, lasst uns tanzen, denn alles ist Musik und wir sind nur jetzt. Ja, wir sind nur jetzt.
Old Father Time checked, so there'd be no doubt. Call on the north wind to come on out. Then cupped his hands so proudly to shout, la-di-da-di-da-di-dum, 'tis autumn.
My phone battery and charger almost died, so I ran back to my hostel, tried to charge everything, and did some laundry so that I could leave for Nuremberg in the morning. Then I, a bit foolishly, decided to go to a part of Munich I'd never been before, with a 20% phone battery and a dead charger as it got dark. I stopped at the Hasbro store and picked up some of the best gummies I've ever had. Then I continued to walk to Gern Wunders, a treehouse pizza place that I had seen on TikTok. On the way, I crossed the Isar River and eventually got the delicious pizza and ate it with a Spezi. It was really good and I definitely need to go there again, but my phone battery was at 1 and I was scared, so I took the bus back to my hostel. I checked out of my hostel, then ich sagte bis bald und auf Wiedersehen nach München. Then I took a very packed train to Nuremberg and looked very out of place in a Henley and boots next to businessmen sitting next to me. But soon enough, I arrived in Nuremberg, and it quickly became one of my favorite places that I had visited. I might be arrow, but I fell in love with the city. It was just so cool and fascinating. You could feel the history of the place, seeing the castle and the city walls, all of the old buildings and churches, more so than in Munich. Just such an amazing place, except for the war crimes, and it was also less crowded than Rothenburg, so it was easier to move around. However, my hostel, the amazing Jungentilburger Nuremberg, was up on a very steep hill, and I had to pass the main market square and practically all of the city to get to it. But it was definitely worth it, due to the fact that it was a part of the castle, was right next to the tower, and had this amazing view. After checking into my hostel and not being able to access my room until 2, I rented a locker that barely fit my bag in it. Then I walked down to explore the city some more, looking at some of the old Gothic churches, the island in the middle of the city where the executioner used to live. They don't have one now, and of course the local flora and fauna. I eventually made my way back to Nuremberg's main square, or the Hauptmarkt, which right now is probably this beautiful Christmas market, but whenever I visited, it was still really cool too. And I got to try some delicious Nuremberg sausages, which are these small and flavorful pork sausages, which were absolutely amazing, as I looked at the Church of Our Lady, or the Frauenkirche. I also got some carrot juice, because apparently fresh juice is a big thing in Germany, and it also tastes so much better fresh. Then I decided to take a free tour around Nuremberg, which I wish I did more throughout my trip, and it started with another clock performance. Then I learned about the history of Nuremberg, how it began as this bustling medieval town and became one of the capitals of the Holy Roman Empire, the castle being where the emperor would stay, along with tales about Till Eulenspiegel and Arbiter, how this was one of the stops in the Camino and how it still is, and I learned how this was also one of the capitals of the Third Reich, how the city was loved by Hitler because of its history and nationalism, how anti-Semitism was carved into the walls of the city, both literally and figuratively. The city being one of the main targets of the bombing, seeing histories of how destroyed the city looked after the war. My hostel was a place that housed the Hitler Youth until the Battle of Nuremberg. And just seeing how much of this city was rebuilt, constantly all of the churches being targets for the bombs. It was so sad and interesting, and the tour guide, Valentina, was amazing. I highly recommend this tour if you get a chance. Then, I went through St. Sebaldus Church, who was the patron saint of Nuremberg. His remains are supposedly still there, but churches with bones in them will have to wait until the next vlog. The church was still so cool to visit and to check out. Then, I walked back to my hostel, going through a tunnel with live music. I finally got into my room, which I shared with 3 other people, but they weren't there yet, and the view was amazing. Then, I went back down to explore the island in the middle of the city for a bit, which was absolutely beautiful, but was tiny. I saw someone filming for some TV show, and I might accidentally be in one of the shots. Then I made my way to the Schöner Brunnen, this old fountain where there is a ring you must ring 3 times for good luck, which I did, and for good luck you should ring the bell and subscribe. I didn't get enough of the Nuremberg sausages, so I went back to Nuremberg's Bratwursthaus, one of the oldest still working restaurants in Germany, founded in 1312. My waiter was absolutely amazing and convinced me to have 2.5 Tilker beers. From my seat I could see the Schöner Brunnen and St. Sebaldus Church. The food was absolutely delicious und sehr lecker, and the apple streusel was a religious experience. Was it because I was drunk? Possibly, but it was still just so good. I definitely recommend. Then I stumbled up the top of the hill, admiring the city as it got rosy and burnt with the setting sun.
Schluchzend wieder mich gewandt. Hätte ich Tag und Nacht mich nur zu heißen, mich samt meinen Wurzeln auszureißen und zu setzen in ein anderes Land.
Then I went back to my hostel and went to bed. I woke up at around 7ish and watched the sunrise over Nuremberg. Then I helped myself to a free breakfast buffet, which was really good. I love cold cuts and cheese and pastries for breakfast. Then I packed up and checked out of the hostel. I admired the castle for the last time and said tschüss to Nuremberg in Germany, but not before picking up some of their world-famous Lebkuchen for the ride to Prague. I'll catch you there.